All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMAC coming to you on a Sunday morning here. Mother's Day. Let's not forget to call our moms, even when they're multiple time zones away. Reminder for myself. Matt, hopefully you did something nice for your wife today. What's going on?
I did. I spent the morning slaving over her, so we're good there. Yeah, man, Mother's Day, always a good day to show love and appreciation to the women in our lives. Yeah, I got sun out today. I love Sunday MLB, Sunday daytime MLB. At least I love it until, right after lock when my teams aren't doing well. But that hasn't hit yet. So excited to talk this slate down with you. We got a pretty fun one.
Yeah, you had a moment last night to start the late slate. You were off to the races there. I saw you in one of the more expensive buy-in tournaments with Cincinnati stacks. That must have your heart must have been pounding because I think you were like top 3 on the podium at one point there.
I'm sure I was. I had like I played 4 lineups and I had 2 red stacks, so I'm sure I was placing very, very high in that time.
And then San Diego played.
I don't check DK. Like, I'm not like a standings watcher. I know the teams I played, and I know how my teams are doing, generally speaking. So I have an idea of how my teams are doing, and I'll check once the slate's over for the most part. Sometimes I'll creep in there, but I don't go out of my way to. Last night was a perfect example of why I don't do that, because just would have been tilting my face off knowing that the Reds, unowned, 10 runs in the first, multiple homers, multiple steals.
Yeah.
People tweeting at me, Jesse tweeting at me.
That's what made me go look for it, as I saw Jesse. So,
of course.
I'm like,
I was like, I don't think I mentioned it. Once you messaged me about it, I was like, I don't even think I mentioned this. But so I put 2 and 2 together. And then the Padres decided to throw up 3 touchdowns on the Rockies, make the Red stacks basically go for naught. I mean, the Reds were good, but the Padres were certainly what you needed. So it sucks, but it is what it is. I wasn't counting my chickens before they hatched. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, you're very, very good about that. So the ebbs and flows of DFS.
I've been through so many like bad beats and just all that I'm like hardened to it. This is like just right off my shoulders.
All right, I'm gonna drop in chat here. I'm dropping a FanDuel link. I want this 100-man to fill. These are the best kept secrets over on their site. But that's 100-man. It's $2. It's 3 max. These are good payouts, but they're not guaranteed contests, so it has to fill to run. And I think I didn't go back and calculate it, but usually these have a little bit less rake than their guaranteed prize pools. So they usually fill 1 or 2 of them every day, but I wanted to see if they would fill a third. So dropping that in there, you guys get to take on me. I've already done my I build out 7 lineups using the single lineup simulator on FanDuel, and then I build out 143. It varies between 145, or it varies 5 to 7 lineups is usually what I build out, because I haven't found the perfect mix yet with the lineup simulator. And because I'm playing across multiple sites, in multiple sports right now, I wanted to get back to hand building. And with the single lineup simulator, it is so easy, guys. I'm just going to put that on the screen real quick, and then we'll get into breaking down all of the stuff. But so I'll just show you quickly, because I haven't done it for DK, but I like it for FanDuel. So we got the single lineup simulator here. You could easily filter on teams, right? So if you know what you want to build quickly, it's like, all right, well, let's put Chris Sale in, and let's not worry about Tampa, but let's go with Atlanta instead, or let's worry about the rain in Tampa. So we're not going to build out a Tampa stack, but I'm sure it's going to put some of these guys in here. So I just build out a stack that I want and the pitcher that I want. You hit complete this lineup, and then it's going to go in and put whatever the next best players are. And you can see, coming from what's going to be a warm and humid day with the wind blowing out in Tampa, it's grabbing some games or some players from there. CJ Abrams, you run this in the simulator, and this is less than 1,000. And this will give you a pretty good idea of where it stands. So this is a good lineup. And I've already made this lineup anyway, so I knew it was going to be a good one. But you want to try to get 20% or higher. A lot of times you'll run something and it'll be like even, -5, +6. Those, if it's a stack I want and a pitcher I want, I let it go and I don't fight. I go with what I wanted to play. I don't let the simulator overrule me, but because it's something I would build by hand. But if I get something that's like -30% and I'm not trying to take a stand on, stacking against a particular pitcher, or we're going with a low on pitcher, or whatever it might be, then I will adjust accordingly. But that's fun to build out. So this is like the old lineup generator, but on steroids. So that's a lot of fun to play around with. So just wanted to show you guys that. And then you can save these, you can name them, right? So if you're building out a field, you can just call this one, Sale Atlanta. And then you can put it over here. And then if you want to build out another one that's close to that, you just click copy, go in here, and then maybe I wanted Pablo Lopez instead, or Mackenzie Gore, and just see what happens with that. So that's how easy it is to use. So you could quickly build out 20 if you wanted, and have a lot of control on things. So that's something I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, but figured it would be worthwhile to show you guys. Let's get into the fun here. I'm going to hand the pitching over to you, Matt. There's two options at the top. It's Mackenzie Gore, and it's reigning National League Cy Young Award winner, Chris Sale of the Century. That's for an audience of one. That's an old TV game show. No one's going to know but me, maybe Sotex. We'll remember that one. What do you like about our top two pitchers?
Digging deep in the archives already, 9 minutes into the show. I dig it. I certainly don't know it, which is making me feel young, so thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
We've read this book before with Sale. Like, he's just too cheap. He hasn't been amazing so far this season, although his last couple starts have been, but he's pitched into some bad luck. His underlying numbers are still really good, and there's just no reason for him to be like 300 less than Eovaldi, 500 less than Gore. He's the top DFS pitcher on the slate in a very good matchup. It's baseball. Wonky stuff happens all the time, but on paper, he's the clear top dog. I got no problem just locking him in. He's over-owned. We see that often with the top pitcher on any given slate. Today's no exception, but he is the top pitcher on the slate. I don't think anyone would question that. The case for getting away from him is ownership. I couldn't fault anyone for doing that because he is crazy highly owned, and there are other good pitchers on the slate. Personally, I'm more inclined to just eat the ownership and get different elsewhere, though.
All right. Moving down the list, you've got Mackenzie Gore going against St. Louis. He is actually carrying a higher salary on DraftKings than Sale is. FanDuel, he's a little bit lower. You've got Nathan Eovaldi, who has been phenomenal, but so have the Motor City Kitties. They've turned into a legitimate team at this point. We have Pablo Lopez going against the Giants, who do have a little bit better offense away from home. They don't typically have a lot of strikeouts in their lineup, but they also sometimes have holes in their lineup. So Pablo Lopez is borderline, I would say borderline ace, but he's like a fringe top 25 pitcher. This is a good matchup for him. So I think he's in the conversation as well. What do you like here on the second tier of pitching?
So a bunch of good options here. And that's why I do think that if you're making a case for fading Sale, it's not like you're scrambling for other options. The second tier for me starts with Pablo Lopez. I'm a big Pablo Lopez fan. It's not like the cleanest spot. Certainly San Francisco's been good this year, especially on the road where their ballpark is obviously much more conducive for pitching at home. So, again, it's not the cleanest spot in the world, but he's been really good. His underlying numbers are even better. Coming off a phenomenal start, I was on him in that start. I think he's the second best option on the slate. Do you see it the same?
I would go Mackenzie Gore, but just barely. And a lot of that for me is I built out FanDuel first. So I ended up doing 3 Chris Sale lineups, 3 Gore lineups. And then I was like, I don't have any Pablo Lopez. So I built out a Pablo Lopez lineup. Now, I think that'll be a little different on DraftKings when I start finessing over there with the lineup simulator to get the build in. But that I do entirely automated. So I wanted to make sure I had time to take care of the other stuff first, because I've also got a Yahoo lineup. I've got to build all sorts of stuff going on this morning. But thankfully, we got all the good Stokastic tools that really help us out. So one way you guys can get that free is if you go to the, get that over here. If you go to the Stokastic, the description in the YouTube below us here, or I will also drop the link into chat. But this will allow you guys to get 30 days of any single Sims package on Stokastic if you sign up for one of these operators that you haven't already signed up for. Now, you've probably got DraftKings and FanDuel, maybe Underdog, but I bet you don't have Sleeper, Better, Vivid Picks, Chalkboard, Fanatics, etc. So all you got to do is follow these instructions up here at the top, and you can get 30 days of Stokastic premium single sport Sims. And I will drop that in the link right now. It is called the link join. There you guys go. All right, Matt, take us through the next wave of pitching here. Kind of the of all these, do you trust? Well, trust is the wrong word. We have Sandy Alcantara and Sean Burke. This is probably the only time we're going to be recommending either of them in a semi-positive light until they start doing differently or becoming a little trustworthy. But they get to go against each other's respective offenses. And while Miami's not a bad offense, it's not exactly daunting. And Burke is in a little better form right now than former Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara. What do you like from our mid-tier choices?
Definitely not Sean Burke. I mean, he stinks. There's no way I'm playing him. He does look better in the top pitcher tool than he normally does, but I'll take it back to a month ago when he was facing Oakland at home, or the Athletics at home, and I stacked against them. We did the show together. Was the start of this run I've been on. I'll go right back to stacking against him here with a Miami team that looks really, really good in the tools also. So we'll get there. Like, I understand Burke because he's so cheap, but we also don't have like really expensive offenses to pay for. The Phillies aren't on this slate. The Dodgers aren't on this slate. The Padres and Coors aren't on this slate. The Yankees aren't on this slate. So, like, where are you even spending that money? For me, it's just he doesn't really have a role for me on this slate. He isn't a good matchup on paper against the Marlins, but I'd rather go with the other side of that. I'm torn on Sandy versus the White Sox. He has been horrendous so far this year. Not sure I'm ready to call him like totally washed yet, but he doesn't look good. I don't really want to stack the White Sox on a slate like this against him, but man, I struggle to get to him even at this price tag in this spot just because of his form, not even his current form, but his form this entire season. That said, if there was ever a time to get on him, it is, today against the White Sox. Like, I wish this were in Miami, then I'd be much more inclined to play him. For me, I like the Miami bats as the only thing that like I'll probably make a priority in this game. Sandy over Burke for me, though, if I'm choosing between the pitchers.
All right. I'm assuming you would not even want to consider Carmen Walensky.
Yeah, I'm good on him.
All right. Let's see. What about Miles Michaelis?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I like this Washington lineup against right-handed pitching, and Michaelis is not very good, so no thanks.
Let me go over here to FanDuel. Let's just see if anything different is on the top stacks tool, and then we'll start going game by game. We'll talk about some of the weather spots. We will cover the afternoon slate, but we wanted to kind of hit and consolidate pitching here. Looks like pretty similar. Sale, McKenzie, Gore, Lopez, they're near the top, but we start to see Ronel Blanco and Reese Olson slide in. You've got Evaldi there as well. But you can see that on FanDuel, you're paying a lot there for Evaldi. If we look at the popularity, whoa, it's all Chris Sale, half the lineups, and then kind of the next three collect everything else. So differentiation is going to be easy. Don't play Sale. You know what? You can also find some other stacks if you want to play Sale. So again, differentiation is different in MLB than it is in NBA because there are plenty of good players and good options and even players within stacks that are sub 10%. Now, the scoring can be similar. If your 10% guy hits a home run and another 10% guy hits a home run, they have the same score, right? So there's a little less differentiation in baseball, or dramatic differentiation if they're doing like similar stat lines. But there are ways to be more unique than others. But remember, the chalk runs pretty hard. Not quite like NBA, but it still runs pretty hard in baseball. And what that does is it creates a smaller tournament within the tournament if everything is going as expected. And it's just, that's where it gets harder and harder to differentiate. So Coors Field, afternoon slate, Yankees today, even Oakland to a lesser extent. That's where you want to make sure that maybe you get more than just a one-off. You go with a sub stack. That used to be that was a thing before it was a thing, an actual platform. So DFS has been around for a while now. That's funny. I never thought of that till words were just coming out of my mouth. But that's sort of how we play through the stuff here. All right, game by game. So let me get up here. So Pittsburgh and Atlanta is the first one that we'll kind of talk about here. We really like Chris Sale. You guys saw that I built out the hand building, or the single lineup simulator. I like Atlanta in this one. No great surprise there. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Atlanta looks really good here. Mudzinski is not good, and I don't expect him to be good. So Atlanta looks like the top stack on the board. They're grading out as such. Ownership is right in line with the top stack percentage. So I like them quite a bit. Not that hard to stack on a slate like this either. No crazy expensive pitching. The guys we want are under 10K for the most part. So I like Atlanta here a lot. I mean, I never, love them as chalk because they let down a lot, but most teams let down a lot. So Braves look good here. If they're your number one priority, I got no problems with that at all.
And then Pittsburgh, they did put out, their top four are their better lineup there. Joey Bart, Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, the veteran switch hitter. It's not Cabrian Hayes. I was thinking it was O'Neill Cruz, but he left last night with back soreness there. I saw the questionable tag on Jared Triolo, and I thought it was just going to be the regular lineup, but it's not. So that is a good reason to go against them. Pittsburgh, that really leaves the 2, 3, and 4 hitters the only nominal concern there for Sale. Next game we have is the Washington hosting St. Louis. It is going to be in the mid 80s today in Washington. Marginal humidity in the 30 to 50% range, so nothing too crazy. No real wind there, but it is a better than normal spring weather there. So that makes it more of a hitting environment. We mentioned Michaelis. He is someone that absorbs punishment. Has been around for a long time, never quite seems to completely implode, but CJ Abrams is popping in the models. James Wood is looking really good. Nathaniel Lowe is looking really good. They're all, the first two guys are in the 5,000s on DraftKings. That makes it a decision point. What say you on that decision? You said you like Washington, but are you going to pay these prices?
Yeah, no problem paying these prices on Washington. Ownership is there, but ownership is pretty flat throughout, so I don't really think it's a concern basically with any team. I like the Nats here a lot. Michaelis is not very good. I really like this lineup against right-handed pitching. They've struggled in this series so far against Fedde and then Palante yesterday. They got going a little bit late yesterday. I think that carries over today. I like them a lot. They might be my favorite stack on the board. Not ultimately ready to put them on that mantle yet. We'll wait and see, the other teams that I like when we talk them out, but they're in contention. I like the Nats a lot here. Michaelis is never someone I'm afraid to pick on. Usually offenses going against him are very, very popular. The Nats are expensive enough where they're not. They're popular, but they're not crazy popular. So I like them a lot here.
All right. I was just building something out here because I wanted to answer a question, a super chat there from I think it was from Caleb, asking about what do we do when we get a lot. He says he's getting way too much Blanco and he's been getting away from him. He's been struggling with the Sims. How do you get out of a funk if the Sims are telling you that you're getting a higher ROI going elsewhere? So remember, what the simulations are doing is they're doing a long, infinite time horizon look. on how to get somewhere. And that's the most important thing to remember. So if you look
That's a really good point. It's a really good point.
Yeah, if you look at a contest like, the mini max, so, or let's go with the Millie Maker. The Millie Maker, none of us should ever win it in our lifetimes. Just full stop. Even if you 150 maxed it every time. That's just the math doesn't work that way. So what it's saying is when you're winning, oh my God, the ROI on that is amazing. So ROI is a good measurement, but it also it's calculating it's accounting for leverage, what the rest of the field is doing, and how much you win when you win. So if you have a really top heavy tournament, and that's why we have the settings in here where you can pick these, that's going to change the ROI. It's also the higher the payout to first, the longer it's going to extend the time horizon to when you're probably going to win it. So what the ROI is saying is, hey, if you are going to win, this is what you're going to win. If you want to see something different, right? Look at these columns here. Let me make sure I'm still sharing my screen. Look at these columns here. Win. You can click on that and see that's how many times I'm going to win. So even though this has a 53% ROI and this is a 34% ROI, we're only winning 0.26 and 0.25% of the time. So infinitesimal, right? More or less. If you look at the top 10, that also helps you get a little perspective of, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I'm going to finish in the top 10%, 2% of the time. So you're like, oh, okay. So if I build out 100 lineups, then I'm only going to put 2 of them in the top 10% each day. And we want to be in the top 1%, right? So this is a way to look at, perspective and your risk reward. And then the cash, that's just saying, what would it be for the min cash? So when you start, looking, oh, sweet, I want to min cash 38% of the time. But it's like, yeah, but if you do well, you're only going to get 14% return on investment. Wait a second. That doesn't seem so good. I'm going to have a bunch of min cashes just to pay off what I put into the tournament. So hopefully this helps you understand. Now, when you get to overriding things, you just want to see what makes sense. So if I'm overriding, like I would maybe override this one here that has a 14, if I was going off the cash percentage, I would probably not want these lower ones here. And you can see it didn't pick those when I just favored it the top 50. If you say, hey, I don't like somebody or I do like somebody. So here we have Sale. Let's down boost him, right? So let's just put him down just 15%. That's for him only. It's just saying any lineup that has Sale is going to have take 15% off whatever the ROI is. We unfavorite these, we refavorite them again, and he should be in less than less lineups than he was before. And you can see we've put him down already to 48% just by clicking that. So you want to play around with this stuff. And you can see, wait a second, only a 5% or a 10% ROI is changing us. It's like, yes, this stuff is also delicately balanced and interrelated with each other. That this isn't like, the old thumbs up on Fantasy Cruncher. It's more sensitive than that. But there we go. Hopefully that answers your questions. If you have anything more, if you've got the Sims, you're in the Discord, feel free to reach out to me. There's a full Discord channel, etc. But just wanted to put that out there for everybody. Okay, back to the games at hand. So no weather concerns there. For the Cardinals, the only one, we've got an aging Nolan Arenado that has not done much against lefties after being a long time crusher of lefties. So really it's Wilson Contreras, maybe Mason Wynn. Looks like a decent matchup here for Mackenzie Gore, but that's why he's carrying a 5-figure salary there on DraftKings. I'm going to turn over the Milwaukee and Tampa Bay game for you. I want to just set the weather tone here. So I'm in Tampa. I'm 30 miles south of the stadium. It's been raining on and off here all morning. It was raining on and off all day yesterday. On and off rain here is it pours for 25 or 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes later, it looks like it never rained. So there's just continual showers in the area of George Steinbrenner Field, which is within the Tampa metro area. And there's a whole bunch of storms that are kind of moving from the south up. There could be no rain there. Like I was out at the grocery store and doing a doctor's appointment 3 miles away from our house here. It was pouring over there. My wife never saw a drop of rain here. Tampa weather is incredibly weird. Matt spends a lot of time in Florida. Florida weather is just incredibly weird. It can be very localized. That said, one of these keeps popping up over the stadium. We're hosed. I don't think that's going to be the case. Do not play the pitchers, but Tampa doesn't play tomorrow. They are in Toronto on Tuesday. Home team gets to decide what happens with the weather, so they might want to hold on longer just so they can get this game in. These teams don't play again. Milwaukee is in Cleveland on tomorrow, so not super long flight from Florida to Cleveland. Not short, but it's not long either. It's not like going to the West Coast. So I suspect they're going to do whatever they can to get this game in, since there are no other games these guys play and the weather is intermittent enough. They should be able to. So we like the bats, no pitchers. Matt, talk about how good the bats are.
Yeah, I will. First off, you're coming in a little bit fuzzy, so I don't know if that's my end or yours, but if you can do something with your mic, appreciate it.
Yep. Chat, let me know. I might have the mics fighting each other on playback in here.
All right, cool. Anyways, so all about the bats in this game if you're going to it. Don't want the pitchers. Tampa looks really good in the tools. Second highest overall in the top stack tool. Highest ownership. So something at least worth noting. They're cheap. I don't think that it's like a slate where you need all these cheap bats, but it doesn't hurt. So Tampa looks good here against Chad Patrick, who's not a great pitcher by any means. And then the Milwaukee side against Rasmussen, they look okay. I mean, Rasmussen's been okay. I think he's a better arm than what he's shown so far this year. He's had some good starts, but more or less it's just been average. Milwaukee, I don't think they look great here, though. I think they just look fine. Contrarian stack, not getting a ton of ownership. I think the main place you're going to look at here is going to be Tampa. Not an ultimate priority for me personally. I like some other teams more, but no problem with anyone who does prioritize the Rays here in this park. This is always going to be one of the better hitting spots because weather's pretty much always going to be conducive to hitting in this park, which is conducive to hitting. So I like the Rays here. Not my favorite stack on the board, but certainly up there.
All right. Totally agree with that. If you end up on Milwaukee, I think that's okay, but it's Churio, Yelich, Contreras, and Turang would be the ones I would focus on. I don't dislike Rhys Hoskins. I'm not a fan of Sal Frelick, even though he's leading off today. But that's kind of where we are. I would rank those guys like the third or fourth best stack when you start getting those players that I don't care for. But again, I am not the stats tool. I must be doing some math and probabilities in my mind, but not as agnostic as the tools are here. Matt, they say EMAC is fine. He's ruggedly handsome. Clearly, it's your issue, Bellman. Get with the program, Bellman. These are just all the things I'm reading in chat.
It was definitely not my issue, but maybe the chat wasn't hearing it. It might have just been on my end. So thank you, but no thank you.
All right. Moving on to Detroit. The Motor City Kitties are hosting Texas. It is Nathan Eovaldi Day. Shout out to Stephen Leibowitz because we like to root for Eovaldi. He has been in the league for a long time, still has a really, really good fastball. Finally developed some secondary pitches 6-7 years ago, which has helped him maintain decent innings eater with upside potential here. So he has carved out a nice career. Each of these teams has about a 3.5 implied run total. That's giving some credit there to Reese Olson, who is a decent young pitcher who's coming along nicely here. And then Texas does not have Corey Seager in the lineup. I can't remember if he got hurt again or if this is just a day off, but without him in the lineup, that weakens things here. What do you have for this game? Is it SP2s, I'm guessing?
I would assume that Seager is fine. He homered twice yesterday, day off, presumably on Sunday. But that does help Olson here, who looks good in the tools. I like the pitching more than the offenses in this game. I don't know if I like the pitching enough to prioritize it, but Olson's really cheap at 8,300 against the Texas lineup that has upside, but certainly, has K upside as well. And no Seager is a big boon for him. So I like Olson. I like Eovaldi. I don't like Eovaldi more than Sale at a higher price point. I mean, it's baseball. It's not going to be the craziest thing if he outscores Sale, but he doesn't project as such. Sale's cheaper in the better spot. You can play them together, but then you're ultimately, looking for cheap offenses to play them with. I mean, I like the pitching here more than the offenses. I'm just not sure I like the pitching enough to play in any of my 4 lineups. If I do play this game, though, it'll be the pitching side.
All right, let's keep maneuvering along here. We got about 30 minutes to go. Of course, we are going to talk the afternoon slate as well. At 2:30, we have NBA Live Before Lock. We've got some exciting games going on today, a couple of game fours with the home teams underdogs. Both of them are 6 or so point underdogs, yet both of them lead their respective series 2-1. They got there in entirely different ways, but you guys will get that if you tune in at 2:30. So you're going to want to subscribe to the Stokastic channel, hit that notification bell so you're alerted every time we go live as we march towards 105,000 subscribers on YouTube. All right, the Minnesota Twins. We like Pablo Lopez, who ended up in the lineup here. This is their, nice. We've got the strikeout lineup. Yep, that is confirmed. 25% strikeout rate since the start of last year for the Giants. You have Lopez had a 25% strikeout rate himself last year. He's up to 28.5 this year. This is a good one. There is a little bit of power hiding within this Giants lineup, but it's definitely going to be Lopez. How do you feel about the Twins' offense against Landon Roop?
Not great. I mean, Roop is good enough where I don't need to stack the Twins against him. I mean, the Twins are fine. I don't think they're a bad stack, but I don't think they're a great stack either. 7% chance of being the top stack, 8% ownership. They look fine. They're not my favorite stack. I wouldn't, fault anyone for getting there because ownership and the top stack tool is very flat today. So keep that in mind when you're building. I don't think that ownership is anything to be worried about. I just don't think that the Twins ultimately look that good. They look fine. They have upside, but I think Raup is good enough where I'm not actively looking to stack against him personally, at least.
All right, let's keep cruising along. I dropped that link into chat again there for FanDuel. Again, the payouts on these tournaments are great. They must fill the run, but you guys already put another 20 in there. So we just need 30 to go. It's a 3 max. It's just $2. And if you don't like me, here's your chance to take a swing at me. Jump on in there, especially if you hate my content, because I built these lineups off my article. So there you go. It'll be a good one. Because, Matt, I play my picks. So, oi. You know who I want to pick on in our next game? That would be Lucas Giolito. Led the league in home runs 2 years ago. Played for 3 different teams, but led the league in home runs as a pitcher. He was out last year due to injury. Ended up having repair on his elbow. It wasn't full-blown Tommy John surgery, but it was I forget exactly what they put a brace in his ulnar collateral ligament or whatever. I read that. I have no idea what that really means, but he is back this year, which means happy Lucas Giolito Day here. Are there any Kansas City Royals you don't want to play today?
I mean, if I'm stacking the Royals, then no, but I don't think you have to stack the Royals. So it's kind of an open-ended question. You know what I mean?
Who do you like?
Who do I like?
Yes.
I don't have any particular Royals that I'm going out of my way to roster. I think they look good as a stack against Giolito. Okay. I think, as always, they're going to be over-owned because the Royals are always over-owned because they're so cheap. Maybe less so today because you don't necessarily need the salary and there's other teams that are cheap, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm stacking the Royals, certainly Witt, Pasquantino, Perez, the guys up top are the guys you want. If I'm stacking against Giolito, though, I want exposure to the whole lineup because the bottom of the lineup is going to be way less owned. And if Giolito stinks, he's going to stink versus everyone. So that's kind of how I read it. I'm not going out of my way to stack the Royals, though, personally. I never really do on slates like this when they're getting love. I'd much rather prioritize the Nationals. If you're playing a bunch of lineups and have, more than a few teams or more than a couple teams in your portfolio, I wouldn't be fading the Royals, but I don't think you have to have them as one of your top 2 teams with the Nats, the Rays, the Braves, all looking good here. That said, the Royals do look good. So if they're in that group for you or the top team overall, do your thing.
All right. Spotlight pitchers and top stacks. I did do a deeper dive there into the Royals. This is if you're worried about the Tampa Bay weather. So Tampa Bay game has just been put into a delay. It says there is no further information, or we're not starting at 1:40, but we don't know when we're going to start. Obviously, we have a meteorologist out there in the DFS world, Kevin Roth. He actually grew up in the Tampa area, so he has been putting out some very good tweets about what it looks like. I bet he'll have something to say on this one, but essentially he said what I was sort of saying earlier this morning, and I was looking out my window, and this is exactly what was happening. It rains, and then it doesn't. It rains, and then it doesn't. That's kind of what happens here in Tampa, unless there's a hurricane. And then it rains, and the wind blows, and then it doesn't stop for 2 days. So it's on or it's off, basically, in Tampa. So I am still playing the bats for now. I will do a weather look on weather.com in a little bit, and to determine if I'm going to pull things out of the lineups I'm building. I've got them in my hand-built lineups. I'm not changing that either way, because I think they're going to try to get the game in, since these two teams do not play again this year, and they're in AL and NL, so they have to find a joint off day to make up a game. All right, sorry for that derailment, but I know we're going to get that question a bunch here. We have not done Houston, Cincinnati, Ronel Blanco, Chase Petty. Now, I do know the super chat there from Caleb Wiggins was asking, he has way too much Ronel Blanco. He's an adequate pitcher. He was a late bloomer, was in the minors for a very long time. I think he came up through the Dominican leagues. And then remember his first start. I can't remember if it was his first appearance or he had a relief appearance, and then it was his first start. He threw that no-hitter. Is he as good as that? No. Does he have above average strikeouts? Yes, but he was a late bloomer who just meandered through the minors forever. So that's the kind of guy you're going to go matchups based and price. It's an okay matchup. Maybe Cincinnati used up all their runs yesterday. How are you seeing this game, since you were ready to go after Lance McCullers yesterday?
Yeah, it was, and it worked out well. Not well enough, because the Padres threw up 3 TDs, but it is what it is. Still salty, obviously, about that. I don't like the Reds as much as I did last night. I think Blanco at this point right now is better than McCullers. I don't think Blanco is elite, but he's good enough where I'm not going out of my way to stack the Reds here. I think the
Blanco's an average. He's an average to below average Evaldi. That's a good comparison. Doesn't quite have the strikeouts. Doesn't quite have the run prevention.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I lump those two together, but sure, I guess. I don't have any argument against it. Blanco is whatever. He's an average pitcher with decent strikeout upside. The Reds can take advantage of pitchers like this when they're off. They run, which is huge, and they have power. So when they go off, like they did last night, a lot of times they're going to win slates because they have power and they run. Blanco's good enough where I don't feel the need to stack against him. He himself is in play. I mean, we didn't talk about him too much, but he looks good in the tools and he's affordable. So I get anyone that would prioritize Blanco. I get anyone that would stack the Reds against him here. I just don't like them as much as I did last night or even close to it.
All right. And then I'm going to run weather here in the background for Tampa. So that's going to suck up my computer energy here, Matt. I will give you the last game. The early slate, it is Sandy Alcantara versus Sean Burke. They're squaring off in Chicago. Give us some thoughts.
Yeah, so this game, I kind of talked about it when we talked about the pitchers. You sounded like you liked Burke. I mean, you'll never see him look as good as he does in the top pitcher tool as he does today. I mean, 30% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. It's pretty nice. I don't think you really need it on this slate with most of the pitchers we like affordable, but there's something to be said for that. For me, I like the Marlins offense here. I just think they're in a really good spot against Burke and this awful bullpen. Shane Smith was good last night. They were close, but he was good. I think the Marlins in this park, again, it's not like the greatest. It's not a hitter's paradise, but it's certainly better than what they normally hit in. Again, you get the 9 at-bats, you get the bad bullpen. They're pricey enough or they're not going to be popular. I like the Marlins a lot here. Like from a raw points perspective, sure, I like the Royals more and I like the Braves more, but I'm expecting those teams to be significantly higher owned. I like the Marlins at an ownership discount in a high upside spot, which is rare for them.
Completely concur. You laid that out nicely. I'm leaning a little bit towards Burke. I will probably end up being 15 or 20% on him on DraftKings. I do not want him at all on FanDuel. So it's more two pitcher sites. So I've got up on the screen here. This is the weather.com weather in motion. So what you can see here is the starting right now. Here's what the weather is going to look like. You can see that thunder showers basically exist through about 5 o'clock. And then there's going to be some clearing here when it gets cooler. So at that point, that's probably when they play the game, if they want to wait till it to be fully dry. Why would we think that is going to happen? Well, because these teams do not play each other again. Tampa does not play tomorrow. They travel to Toronto, so they are not in any hurry to get out of there. And it's the home team that gets to decide. And as long as there's a reasonable chance of a game playing, then Major League Baseball is not going to get in the way. So that is why I think that game takes place. All right. Oh, they were asking FanDuel. Did FanDuel include the Texans? Or not Texas? No, the FanDuel.
It would be the Coors. It would be Coors. Did they include Coors? Because Coors
they
is
did
the next
not.
game. Okay.
Yeah,
so
they
it's
did
the same
not.
slate then.
A rare time for it to be the same slate. But let's go quickly while we're doing this and getting ready to talk the afternoon slate. Let's look at the FanDuel Top Stacks tool. So let me call that up very quickly here. All right. So DK, for comparison, it's looking at the top stacks percentage. It's pretty thinned out at the top. Atlanta does have the edge, but then there's 8 teams that are all in the mix here. If we look at FanDuel, it'll be slightly similar, even though they have different scoring. Some of the positions will move around a little bit since they go a little less for home runs, proportionally a little more for walks, and extra base hits and runs. So, but you can see it's mostly the same teams. If we look at the ownership, Atlanta, Washington, Kansas City, still top 5 are all kind of interchangeable, but no positive leverage on those top 4. The stacks I was building around were in my lineups today were Tampa, Washington, and Atlanta when I was building out those 7 lineups there on FanDuel. Let's talk about the afternoon action here real quick, Matt. There are 4 games. There are no good pitchers per se. You have Bryce Miller, probably the best. However, he has been having some major walk issues and control issues this year. Now, he didn't have any in his last start against Oakland, against the Athletics, but he only went, I think, 4 innings. He's probably the guy we want to roll out there, especially if Anthony Santander is out. He has been dealing, I think it's a shoulder issue, but he has not played since Thursday.
The Jays have been good in this series, man. We talked about it with Castillo. I mean, I wasn't going to bring it up, but man, the Jays have.
But it's okay, Mike. Buy 100% Castillo on Yahoo. I tripled up because I hit the right guys in Coors Field.
I played the late slate on Friday night. I didn't even tell you about this, but I finished 3rd, top 5. I can't remember if it was 3rd or 4th in like the 333 with a -12 from Erod, because I think Castillo must have been really, really highly owned in that contest, and he was also crap.
Yep, that is correct. So here, this is the FanDuel look for the afternoon pitching. So you've got Zach Gallen is up there. He's got to take on the Dodgers. Tough ask. You've got Tyler Anderson with the dangerous, though they haven't really shown it this season, dangerous Baltimore lineup. Don't know. I'm getting conflicting sources on if it's Clark Schmidt or if it's Mark Leiter Jr., or maybe Mark Leiter Jr. is just coming in for an inning, but the different sites are all saying different things. but the different sites being ESPN, Major League Baseball, FanGraphs, right? Not just DFS sites. So either way, Oakland looks good. Yankees look phenomenal. Zach Eflin, you want to remember he's coming back off of injury. He did make one rehabilitation start. He missed 5 weeks. I think he went like 58 pitches in his rehabilitation start, and then he threw a clean bullpen this week. So the manager said he's good to go. I would expect 70 pitches because he's been one of the few bright spots in that pitching rotation, and he has been gone for 5 weeks. So there's no reason to push him back. So I think 5 innings or 70 pitches, whichever he gets to first, which is probably going to be 70 pitches. So the pitching is a little dodgy here. Is there anything you want to call out strategy-wise here for the later slate?
So the Diamondbacks pitching so far has been really good against the Dodgers in this series. Corbin Burns was phenomenal last night. Brandon Pfaadt was amazing the night before that. Can Gallen keep that trend going? Unlikely, but he's the best pitcher on the slate in my mind. I mean, I still have him over Bryce Miller. I think for DFS purposes, he looks like the top guy also. I mean, he's slightly higher. He's got a slightly higher percent chance of being a top 2 pitcher, and he's lower owned than Miller. So I like Gallen more between the two. I don't think either of them are must plays. I almost just feel like you just hope your pitcher doesn't get blown up on this slate. I mean, there are no really clean options. We'll have to wait and see who's pitching for the Yankees. If it is Clark Schmidt, he's cheap enough. There are expensive bats. I mean, Severino, I don't think he's an awful play just because of what we're working with. I struggle with Eflin in his first start back, but the Angels are horrendous, so I got no issues with it. I mean, pitching is weak here. We got to wait and see what happens with the Yankees. I mean, even Jose Urena, who I always love stacking against, he looks good in the tools just because the other pitchers don't really. So
right.
Do with that what you will. You know, it's not really that much of an endorsement about him. More so like there are really expensive bats on this slate. And there's certainly worlds where Urena's 9 fantasy points, if he gets that at 6,200, is like more than viable with no other pitcher getting over 15. Like I see that world in a lot of scenarios on this slate.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
it allowed you to get Corbin Carroll, and Ohtani didn't do well, and you had Judge. So all the Ohtani people and one of the Bryce Miller people sucked. And all of a sudden, Matt is doing more screenshots. So
yeah, something like that. Let's hope. Yeah, and your point about Bryce Miller, though, Santander's not in the lineup. Santander, I should say. Addison Barger hitting third. He's been good, but, man, that is not the strongest lineup in the world. I'll give you that.
Yeah, so the rare time where Jose Urena is going to be in our mix here. I'm not
playing him, but he's in the mix. Like I see the case for playing him. I'm not going to do it, but I see it.
Yes. Let me get to. I'm in the wrong room, so I don't have the dong of the day. Who do you have for dong of the day? And then I'm gonna talk through running my simulations here because we had a few questions in chat, so I'm gonna talk about a few of the settings. But I
feel like I've been good on my dong of the day recently. Gunnar went yard
nice.
2 nights ago. I don't know who I had last night.
I don't think we called.
We didn't do one. We didn't do an MLB show. Yeah, so
because I went to go, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta bet my home. I'm like, oh, we didn't do a show, or we talked briefly about it.
Briefly, very briefly. I don't even know if we talked like the night slate. So it is what it is. Today I'm going to go off the board as I always do. I've mentioned I like the Marlins a lot in this spot. Give me Eric Wagaman hitting cleanup today, going yard.
Okay. Well, since I feel like I may need to go defend my turf, Vinny Pasquantino. Some people like Kansas City. Some people don't. I don't know. It could be a Midwest thing. I'm ambivalent on this. All right. So I'm going to run my FanDuel lineups just to show you guys the different settings we have, and then we'll slide on out of here so we can get our lineups set up. So this is the default setting of the different stacks. So what this is doing, and I'm going to talk quickly, but you guys can come back and watch this again. And we have tons of videos that break all of this stuff down. So if I misspeak a little bit, I'm just trying to do this quickly in the interest of time. So here we can set up the different stack types that we want. This is creating the contest pool. So this is what everybody in the field is doing. So if we don't think anybody's doing, 4-3 stacks, then you would have that as 0, right? We know that's not the case. So what this is setting up is kind of what the field standard does. Sometimes I like to just, redistribute the stacks a little bit here, just because I am picking from this. I'm not going too crazy off what the field is doing, because if I make something that's not close to the field, then the ROI numbers don't work. So remember, this is just building out the field, right? Not necessarily our lineup. So we can hit that for apply. If you didn't want to play the Tampa game, you can take it out here by clicking on this. And then once you hit save, those players are going to be out. If you take them out of the player pool, it's not going to be representative of the player pool, because we know that people are playing them today. But again, if you didn't want them in there just because you're like, all right, screw it, it's too much of a risk, I want to get them out, that would be the way to get them out. You can also get them out once you've run the filters, or once you start filtering and selecting the lineups after we've built out the contest. So this right now is simulating the slate and building out a contest that is 5,000 people or 5,000 entries. And then I think I picked a 25% prize pool. I usually stick with the default. It's 20 or 25, or that may be on the next screen. Now, the larger the prize pool or the pool you pick, the more it's got to simulate. So if you're down to the wire, maybe you don't pick 5,000, you go with 2,000. So now that they've built out the field, it's saying, hey, here's what we think the ownership is based upon, our simulations. Here's what's in your pool, right? Which these are mostly going to be within 1 or 2% of each other. Now it's simulating the different lineups. Here's where we can make that one last adjustment. You can also, now that the pool has been created, if you wanted a little more Chris Sale or Mackenzie Gore, give them an extra fantasy point. You can also get that one more time in the ROI by boosting the ROI, and that way you don't have to rerun this. So if you do it the way I'm going to do it, you don't have to replicate more steps. So hopefully that makes sense. But again, this is something you want to play around with. You want to have some fun with. Don't if you're going to do it, even if you don't play FanDuel, play the nickel contest for 150 lineups. So if you screw up, it's $7 and not, $150 when you're just playing around with this. That's one of the biggest questions I get, is people messaging me about 25 minutes before lock. How do I use the Sims? Have you registered for contest? Yes. Unregister. No, I want to play today. It's like, I don't have time to help you because I'm trying to build my own lineups up. But again, when we have time, we're more than happy to help. We have 2 dedicated channels in Discord for the Sims, and we have about 25 videos posted. You can also click the help up here. I don't want to click it now, but it should take you to a landing page that's got a dozen of our more specific videos that are there. If I click that, I'm going to lose this, and I don't want to, because somehow I'm going to have to build out DraftKings in the next 10 minutes, and it is what it is. All right, so here are my FanDuel lineups. I want to play 150. Remember, I said I'm playing 143, but it's faster to take 150. If I look at the exposure caps, where I like to make adjustments here is where am I on pitching? So that was probably Caleb's question, is he had a lot of Ronel Blanco on FanDuel. I just assumed DraftKings, but he wasn't showing up on DraftKings. FanDuel, why is he there? Because he's $7,700. And he's allowing you to do different things with stacks. Now, do I want to be 20 or 10 times the field? No, but the tools are telling me I want to be more than I am. So I'll accept, 20%. Gore, I'm okay at 30%. We have Sales at 50%. I'm coming in on half the field. I'm fine with that because I built him out on my hand-built lineups that are in some other contests that aren't just in these 150s. So I'll cap him at 30, and then I'll come in and I'll say, give me at most 10 of anybody else here. And I don't think it'll go below that. Now, I don't have very much Pablo Lopez. So let's do this 150. We're going to unfilter. We're going to refilter and see what happened when I did my caps there. So Capped McGore at 30, capped Sale at 30, but you see he didn't quite get there. Blanco's down to 20. I've got Evaldi there at around 10, but I'm really not getting Pablo Lopez. Okay, let's go over here to the player ROI boosts. I'm going to click on Lopez. I'm going to give him 2 clicks just to see how much that gives him. And then whatever that is, I'll probably take it because I'm running out of time to do all my lineups. But if we come back and look here, we can see he popped up to 10%. I had him capped at 10. Let's make him 15. I'm not going to touch that ROI button again, but I bet just by hitting it twice, he's going to come up now to his 15% cap or somewhere close. Yeah, 11.33. So now I'm even with the field. Oops. I'm going to just go back and click him once because, you know, I'm OCD like that. And then I'm going to download my lineups. So Pablo, why is that not show? Because I'm on stack boosts. Stack boosts, you can see I don't want that much Houston. I'm okay with that Tampa. I'm okay with that Washington. I'd like a little more Atlanta. And then everybody hates on KC. I'm going to put KC up there twice. So all it's doing is it's just saying if there's a stack, do plus or minus of that. And it considers the stack anything of, I think it's 3 or more players. I said I was making 143 lineups, so I can just self-include 143 lineups. Somebody was asking about uniques. I don't mess around with that, but 0 is the same as 1. All it's saying is if my lineups are in order here, I have to have as many different between these. So let's just use an extreme example. Let's pick 8. What will it do? So you can see, even though these are the next best lineups, it won't give them to me because there's not 8 different players. Well, shit. Now look how far down I have to go. I'm killing myself on ROI because I'm demanding 8 different players in that lineup. So I don't mess with those. I wouldn't go more than 2. Just for today, let's do 2 just because we can. Let's favorite. Favorite. So you can see, even though I chose 2, it doesn't skip too many of them. Play around with this. It's going to be different each day on what you want, the size of the slate, how popular players are, etc. But that is a quick way just so you can see how you use the tools here. So let me save that. And I'm going to upload it. And we are going to get on out of here because I got to go do DraftKings now. So, Matt, any final thoughts?
No, man. Good show as always. Good luck today.
All right. With that, gamers, you can follow Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. You can find me at EMACDFS. And, of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.